Whether your beer is in a bottle, can, or glass, kick back and relax. It's better on draft.
Welcome everybody to the episode Michigan Series number 19 Better on Draft podcast. My name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. We are going to have an episode this week and an episode next week before the end of the year, and then we are going to be celebrating Dry January. Before we go and get into our guest, as Kevin gives me a thumbs down, there is always the opportunity for you to make non-alcoholic beer, especially for those who may want to go out and enjoy a nice evening out at, say, North Center Brewing over in Northville, Michigan, just south of Baseline Road on North Center Street. Kevin, you are our guest. Real quick, for those of you who recall, was not drinking until the Lions won a game, and then out of sheer cruelty of God or whatever, got COVID, so I can't taste anything. So I'm not going to waste any of my money on drinking anything that isn't that's alcoholic, because why bother? So I've got a little bit of taste buds, so I'm drinking a hop tea, white tea. Caffeine's definitely helping with the migraine. Nick, what are you drinking over there?
I'm a little behind on my German beer advent calendar, so I'm drinking the day 6 one right now. It's Herbrau. I forgot the name of it. I don't know what kind of beer it is, but it's good. That's for sure.
I'm actually doing the same thing.
Oh, are you? You're a little bit, must be a little bit ahead of me, because
I think this is day 8 maybe.
Okay, so
but I'm doing my German beer calendar.
Yeah,
as well.
I may get to that one today. I don't know, but like we do on this show, we double fist on this show. I am now getting around to my Boulevard Brewing Nova Flare West Coast IPA.
I also have our Planetary Architect, our triple IPA. So
there you go. There you go, folks. You know, we drink the same stuff. He just decided to one up me on his triple IPA. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Well, we have Kevin from North Center Brewing. We are going to be giving away 2 beers, and Kevin has agreed to assist us in making sure those beers are selected at random. So, Kevin, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, on my screen, transition and show that I have a randomized group of names. First, you're not going to be able to see it to keep things all fair, but Kevin, I need you to pick a letter A through F.
Let's go with E.
E, all right. And then you need to pick a number 1 through 36.
Go 21.
21, all right. So Frederick John is going to be winning the very first bottle, so you're going to choose between the Doppio Medianoche or the Drafting Table Malo. Once again, A through F, Kevin.
Let's go A.
Give me a letter or a number 1 through 36.
Go 5.
That's going to be Dylan Burrows. Those are the 2 winners. So Frederick John's going to be able to first figure out what he wants, and then Dylan Burrows is going to get to the opposite beer. So we appreciate you doing your part in paying attention, and the Lions winning a game against Minnesota. So that is how we're going to pick those beers. Obviously, we'll message you. We don't want you to, pay attention too much. Like if you're trying to skip through the entire show and be like, oh no, where did they announce it? First of all, you should be listening to the whole show. But no, we wanted to make sure we got it out there, so we appreciate you listening. We appreciate you participating, and congratulations. I will no longer be holding on to these beers for absolutely no reason. So, Kevin, welcome to the show. Again, I appreciate you joining us. You are one of our sponsors. You help us continue to do what we're doing each and every week, chatting with everyone. We actually got to talk with the second largest and the oldest brewery in the United States, Yuengling, last week, which is an amazing thing we've been able to do, something I don't think we would have thought we were going to do almost 6.5 years ago.
That's struggling podcast, man.
Still a struggling podcast.
Still a struggling pod. No, we only get the second largest brewery on our show.
Only. I mean, we still got to get Boston Beer Co. And then
one of these days we will.
One of these days. But we have
One of these days.
North Center Brewing, the largest
Third.
brewery in
Third
Northville,
largest.
Michigan. Kevin, what's going on over at Northville? What has happened? I mean, we talked to you in December of last year, so kind of give us a little spiel of what has changed over at North Center.
Sure. Yeah, 2021, the first quarter, you're still under a lot of protocol lockdown items.
We were still drinking outside in January.
Yes, that's right. People were coming out and sitting in 10-degree weather outside just to support us. But then as the restrictions started to lift earlier this year, I mean, we came back really strong. Basically, up through now, we've had pretty much our best numbers, our best months that we've been able to put together. Our distribution's growing. Our sales manager, she's really crushing it. And we've had a really good rebound year. We still got a lot of ground to make up from 2020, but in general, I feel like for the last few months I've been able to like safely say we're going to be okay. So we rebounded nicely, and hopefully we can get the numbers back under control here. But we're ready to, since we already have protocols that we learned last year, if things change, we'll be able to change with it a lot more easily now that we know what to do. So,
well, let's talk about that. As COVID hit back in March, April of 2020, we were kind of getting into the spring and summer. Outdoor eating and drinking was a lot easier. But you guys built an entire patio out there that was more than what you originally had, correct?
Yes. Yeah. They pretty much doubled the size.
Nice and pretty too.
Yep. Yeah. There was all kinds of like municipality grants and going around, city and state sponsored to help with that too. So we were able to get our hands on some of those as well. So definitely able to put together a patio that was very useful both during the winter months and obviously the summer.
And the change in law with the outdoor drinking districts, Northville created a drinking district, correct?
That's right.
Now, how did you guys participate? Because you're not necessarily downtown.
Right. We aren't in the drinking district. So essentially we partnered up with a few different of the restaurants down there and essentially sold our product to them to then sell onto into the social district. They also had the city built these like mobile booths, I guess, and we were able to sell food out of those as well. So essentially when our kitchen and everything was pretty much running at a minimum, we were able to do quite a bit of sales in what is typically a slow month of January and early February. So that social district definitely helped us get through probably one of the tougher months we've ever seen.
How are your staff doing? Obviously, we've talked a lot about not only the Great Resignation, but how customers have just treated a lot of the restaurant industry as just garbage. How is your staff doing? How have they held up? How are things going for them?
Yeah. So staff for us hasn't. I mean, the staff struggles that we've had over the past year and a half are not, in my opinion, related to COVID. I mean, there's always, when you're a small business, if you lose a single person, that can be detrimental, and a person could go to school, they could find a different job, whatever it is. So that can happen almost at any time. I don't feel that we had any staffing issues due to COVID. We also, some of the government funding that we got over the past year, we try to invest that into our employees as well. So we now offer our full-time staff health benefits and things like that. So, that for us, the staff's been, I think they grinded it out for sure during COVID, and we tried to reward them by making their earnings a little bit more, than just taking home some cash. So, that we still tried to make sure that we're, one of the better places in the area, but also being able to offer benefits like health benefits, 401k, that kind of stuff, salary, employment. Those are the kind of things that I think the industry is going to have to start. That's going to have to start becoming a norm, not a like a plus. So, and that's in my opinion. If you want to attract people to work and high skill people, you're going to have to start offering those types of things, in my opinion.
I honestly, when the restaurants that I've been to that have had those perks are few and far between. Without my previous job, I probably couldn't even tell you one that would have offered it. I would have assumed like, oh, maybe an Applebee's or a TGI Fridays or something like that would carry that kind of thing. But a lot of those restaurants even don't have those types of perks and benefits for their staff, just because the industry itself has gotten away. I don't want to say nefariously, but gotten away with not doing it.
Oh, for sure. Industry definitely got exposed over the past year and a half. I mean, part of the staffing issues, I think, of people wanting to work in different areas that maybe offer better lifestyles. The restaurant industry can be very difficult, a lot of hours, a lot of weekends. And, if you're not, if you feel like you're not getting what you deserve, then you're going to go somewhere else, quite simply. I mean, pretty much every industry is like that, but even more so in the restaurant industry for pretty much what you just mentioned. And actually, I'll give a shameless plug to how I got hooked into the health benefits, because I think it's useful for many other people that might be listening or plugged into other breweries or restaurants. We went through the Michigan Beer and Wine Wholesalers Association. So it's just another entity that kind of takes care of the industry, similar to like the Brewers Guild or what have you. And they actually leverage their membership as a collective to get really good benefits, because they can take total number of members and act as if that's a large company. And they can offer very, very competitive benefits at a very low price. And you can even do a complete pass-through of costs. So from an employer, a lot of people assume, oh, it's going to cost me a lot of money to get people benefits, and it doesn't. It can be zero monies to actually get your staff some benefits. And then, of course, if you throw in some monies, you can improve the financial situation and what they can maybe have access to. So they have literally plans for all budgets. And so I think the only upfront cost, there's some administrative documents, and then I had to become a member with the Michigan Beer and Wine Wholesalers Association, which is $325 annually. So again, from a cost perspective, what I think a lot of people assume you have to pay a lot of money, and it's just not the case, period. So that's my shameless plug to hopefully get some people to look into it more, because it's not as difficult as they think it is.
You would think that that setting all of those things up to retain hardworking staff that want to be there would take a lot to set up. Me coming from corporate background, the big bad utility company, I figured, having no idea of what goes on in the inner workings of benefits and things like that. It sounds to me like you just had to do a little bit of homework one night to really just figure out, like, how can I make a staffing situation where we have this great resignation taking place in the country, and then it sounds like it wasn't that hard to really do.
No, like the staff there, they have staff on hand that act as your HR group for all intents and purposes. They answer all of your questions, just like, so if you come from a corporate background and you have an insurance program, there's always someone that you get the PowerPoint presentation, and at the very end, this is who you contact for your 401k, and it's literally the exact same thing. I have a contact for health benefits, dental, vision, the 401k, the flex spending account, like all the stuff that you have as a large corporation. They had people there, and they're very helpful. Like, I mean, immediate responses. Again, because they leverage their entire membership, we didn't get treated like we were a place that's only insuring like 8 people. We got treated like a place that's insuring 50,000, however big their membership is. So
Sure.
they treated us as if we were one of the collective, not just a small company too. So I mean, it was, I would say, yes, it took, time to put it all together, and it takes time to submit paperwork and do all that kind of stuff, and to get your actual plan activated. But it's mostly time. It's not a lot of effort. So I think from that perspective, I've been trying to, like, all of the outlets that I have, and just, when I see people, or if I, talk to people via some of the various Facebook groups, I've been trying to promote it the best I can without, calling people out, because that can be a sensitive subject, but definitely something that is easier than I think a lot of people assume.
Out of curiosity, when this happened for North Center, what was the staff response? Were they were they crying out of pure happiness and joy, or because? Well,
it was a mixture of a couple of my staff have been in the industry for a long time.
Sure.
And so for them, they were floored. They thought, like, wow. But again, their assumption too is, okay, North Center must have just poured a ton of money into this. And I explained to them that it doesn't have to be, it's not like that.
It's not like that.
And so, but at the same time, you don't want to throw all their previous employers under the bus, because that's not the intention. And then for some of our staff, it was like perfect timing. I've had my general manager, Nate, he's been with us for 5 years. He just turned 26, which is the age in which you can't be under your parents' insurance anymore. So, yeah. I mean, it was like the plan activated his birthday month. So, like, for him, he was like, oh my God, this is great. Because I didn't know what, I didn't know what to do. I don't know, how, the marketplace, if you've ever had to do personal insurance, it's not user friendly. There's no one to talk to or ask questions, especially if you got a special situation. And we're on the flip side with this program, we were able to do that. So if someone had a unique medical condition, they can ask the question, is this covered? Very point blank, and then get very honest answers. And all of the plans are Blue Cross Blue Shield. So large networks, and I mean, it was to me, I actually felt like a jerk for not having done it sooner, to be very honest, once I kind of got into it. So, but I think in general it was obviously very well received, but it has attracted attention when we have gone through hiring. We did have to hire a brewer about the time that we initiated benefits, and from the dozen or so applicants that we got, when we had narrowed it down to the top 3, that was a big plus. For all of them said the exact same thing. This is a big reason why I'm looking at this job. So it definitely has helped, and it wasn't difficult. So everyone go do it. Stop listening to the podcast. Sorry, guys.
Let's talk about your beer, because every year you guys do the Flight Before Christmas.
Yep.
What is the Flight Before Christmas, and what do you guys got that you brewed this year?
Sure. So the Flight Before Christmas is very aptly named as a flight that we offer. We, instead of maybe targeting a larger production batch of a Christmas beer, we do this event instead. We found that it's more successful. And then last year we started packaging it due to COVID, and this year we're going to keep packaging it because people were very excited about that. So the beers, there's 6 of them in the flight. We are doing our Christmas ale, which we kind of model it after Great Lakes Christmas ale. So if you're familiar with that one. Then we have a new one this year is a orange peel Hefeweizen with cloves. And then we have a gingerbread brown, which is also new. And then we have a sour apple sour, which we call it the Grinch sour, because it does come out with a green hue to it. We have the fruitcake Belgian quad. And then I'm missing one. I'm sure you're looking at it right now because you probably have the list up. Oh, it's escaping me. Oh, our Mexican hot chocolate stout. So that's like a chili pepper with cinnamon and cocoa nibs for a good sweeter milk stout with a spicy finish. So usually this is our probably our more successful event. Not only did we have a good marketing campaign for it with a name, the night itself is very successful. We'll also offer it on draft and do food specials and have music on the 17th of December, which is also when we will release the packaged product, which is in limited quantities. And I'm not sure if it'll make it out of our beer club, but if it does and we have some left, the public will be the first to know.
How do you join the beer club?
Oh, so great question, Ken. You can do that via our website. Got all the information on there, northcenterbrewing.com /merch, and beer club membership is on there, as well as stopping into the pub. And the beer club has all kinds of perks, including being first dibs on our beer releases, but also larger pours when you come in, t-shirt, some of the more standard stuff, but you get the larger pours and first dibs. And then we also do beer of the month nominations. So if you're a beer club member, you can nominate and vote on a beer that we'll make. So, it's a fairly standard as far as some of the perks, but we do have some cool extras. And I think the coolest part about it, in my opinion, is the price point, which is $80 for a lifetime. So, we try to make it because we want people to buy it and then also come in and enjoy it often.
With a brewery, you guys have been open for, almost 7 years now. 7 years in April.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm looking at your Untapped, and it says you got over 300 different beers that you have made. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, if you include our large production brewing and then our small batch brewing, that's probably accurate. I'm sure there's, I probably don't take as much time as I should to maintain our Untapped. There's a lot of duplicates and things like that when people type in stuff. But yeah, I would say that that's pretty accurate. I know on our large production system, we have brewed probably 65 to 70 different beers. Of course, a lot of them are brewed much more often. And then our small batch, we're putting out 1 to 2 small batches a week. So, over the course of 6.5 years, that adds up pretty quick. I'm sure there's some on there that we've made that aren't even on Untapped because they go in like a couple of days at the brewery. So,
is there a beer that you wish you could bring back that maybe you just haven't had the time or the effort to bring back? Especially because when we were talking before the show, you said you weren't really in the brew house as much as you'd like to be.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few that I wish we could have more regularly. I wish that there's not going to be any alt beers. Okay, Ken. So I'll just stop it right there. I know I do like alt beers as style. So there's just a lot of styles that I wish we could make more of. Stuff that we've made in the past that I wish we could do more often. We used to have a wheat beer, and wheat beers are pretty much becoming a thing of the past because of the hazy IPA is essentially a dry hop wheat beer. So you have a lot of trends and styles that direct and dictate what you produce. But yeah, there's definitely at least a half dozen beers that I wish we could make more regularly, for sure.
Now, first of all, I feel a little bit attacked for you and
here we go.
alt beer, but I do plan on, we're actually going to be collaborating with someone you recently collaborated with, and that's Loaded Dice, to make an alt beer here sometime in the spring summer.
Yep.
Now that I'll be able to drink, might as well go and finally make that beer with him. But this isn't your first collaboration with Jeff over at Loaded Dice. Talk to us about the collaboration. What's going on with that?
We Jeff and I get along really well. He's done a lot of great stuff. His beers, for being a young brewery, are spectacular. He's got great ideas. and this collaboration was no different. So we are doing a barley wine. And we'll be releasing it the week of Christmas. It is a Krampus is the theme. They are the beer of Krampus future, and we are the beer of Krampus past, or maybe I got that backwards. But either way, it's a barley wine that we aged with cognac barrels. The difference between the two is we also infused ours with pomegranate, and they used figs instead of pomegranate. So their guy did all the label artwork. He wanted to take the reins on it, and he definitely executed. So it'll be a packaged product as well as on draft, and probably have that going not only through Christmas but into the new year as well. So it's always fun to collaborate with breweries, and we have some fun with Jeff and his guys over there at Loaded Dice. So we definitely enjoy collaborating with them and hanging out with them. So I'm excited to see this one get released.
This isn't the first one you guys have done. What was the last collaboration you did with Jeff over in Troy?
Yeah, we did a mint julep beer for the Kentucky Derby. So that was well received because of Northville's social district, plus the Kentucky Derby, plus the Northville Downs. The beer sold pretty well in our place, and I guess I'd have to ask him how it sold at his place, but at least from our perspective, it actually went pretty well. I mean, it's a weird beer to make. Yeah, it's a weird flavor for sure. Mint julep for a beer, but it came out, and we were happy to do it, and leave it to Jeff to come up with some weird ideas. But that's what you get when you collaborate with him.
Jeff has definitely been making his way around with a lot of brewers within the Metro Detroit area. He's been collaborating and promoting, and I think that's what's going great for him, as you said, being such a young brewer, is that he's been able to absorb a lot of information from all of these brewers, and not only does he have great beer already, but has been able to build on that catalog of beer simply just by being so welcoming for everyone. So if you haven't had a chance, obviously go check out Loaded Dice over in Troy. Great little place. It's hard to it's very easy to miss, I should say. So make sure that you're looking for the big sign that says brewery. But let's talk about 2022. There is a lot of things within the industry that I think is going to be not necessarily troublesome, but a lot of people need to make sure that they understand that it's going to happen. First of all, the shortage of aluminum is going to potentially hit us, and potentially hit for can shortage, as well as increase in prices. But ingredients are starting to go up, and you're going to see an increase in price here in 2022. How is North Center addressing the increase in prices for all of its ingredients, as well as the increase in utilities and everything else?
Yeah. So it's pretty much across the board. Anything you can think of, and even the stuff that you might not think of. Before the show when we were chatting, gas utility prices are going up. We have a steam boiled system, so that's going to be a price point that we have to watch out for. CO2 as a gas has gone up very significantly. Your grain, your cans, all of your merch that you purchase, labels that you're doing, everything has increased in price. There's not a single thing that has. I have yet to see the letter where someone says, "Hey, you know what? We actually got a price decrease coming your way." So it's pretty much across the board of anything that you can think of. And so far, we did a price increase across the board on our products by about 4 or 5% last year. And I'd imagine we'll probably see something similar in that ballpark this year, in early 2022. It's coming. It'll be different for everyone. Obviously, everyone handles price points differently. But don't be surprised if you're starting to see a pint of beer that you're used to paying maybe $5 for, or $6 for, be $6 or $7, or maybe even $8. So it just depends on how everyone's handling their own price points. But for a little brewery like us, where we can't buy in bulk as much as some of the other bigger breweries can, so we don't get the price breaks that some other people can hit. So it's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be something that hopefully people can understand and get used to. But we also know that I'm sure some people will be negatively, their attitude will be negatively impacted, and that's my attitude's been negatively impacted by people telling me the price of all this stuff's going up. So I don't suspect it'll be any different when we pass along some of that to the customer, but it's definitely coming.
No matter what, you have to pass it off to the customer. It's one of those where the restaurant industry as a whole, margins are so thin already that when you have an increase like this, it just has to get passed into to the customer. But there comes a point where there's one thing, and you'll cringe when you hear this, but there's someone that I know, and I'm affiliated with them just because of the circles that I go in, and the cost of a drink at a bar went up, but instead of him raising, what he was paying, he just ate it into the tip and said, well, here's, two drinks is, instead of it being, $8, it's now $9. But he's still paying $10. He used to tip $2, now he just tips $1. So
Sure.
instead of him eating the cost, now the server's eating the cost. And these are the kinds of things that we hope with our show, especially for the next year as these things change, and as well as the industry changes, that a lot of people understand that a lot of your misnomers of the restaurant industry are just people just don't understand. Like, people probably did not understand that people in the restaurant industry did not get health care. Or if they did, like, they just didn't care. Whereas you're talking about your GM or whatever turning 26 and about to lose insurance because his parent, he aged out. And it's a scary thing. When I got laid off in 2020, like, that was my first thing is, oh no, how am I going to be insured?
Yep.
And it's things that you just don't want to think about. So when you're thinking about prices, just either don't pay or, pay. Like, those are your two options. Either you don't, be a consumer there and you go somewhere else to where they probably still raise the prices. But taking these price increase, you're not going to see, as much as you're saying like a $5 beer is not going to be $8, but it might be $6 or $5.56. How are you managing ingredients? Because now that prices are going up for ingredients, is there a issue on getting the ingredients? Are you being put into like a second tier because you're not on the level of, say, a Bell's or Founders or Old Nation, where they're buying in bulk, as you said, whereas you can't? How are you reacting to those types of shortages?
I would say in general, we haven't seen any shortages yet. I mean, price has gone up, but you're still able to make orders and timing. I mean, if anything's getting affected, it's logistics. There's a lot of driver shortages and stuff that's a real thing. So, getting stuff in a timely manner when you're a small brewery and you don't have a lot of inventory on hand, that has thrown us off a couple of times. But, things that you can do, internally, you always have to be improving also. You can't just say, oh, we're passing along to the customer and we're all done here. I mean, we're still, going back to the health benefits, you assume that you're going to be loading all of this cost into getting a program going, and it's just not the case. So you could attract more talent by implementing something like that at a very minimal cost. That can, if you think about, then you can attract better people. Therefore, you're going to get more for your dollar because of that. But other things too, like on a nerdy science level of, managing, yeast management. Reusing batches of yeast as many times as you can while they're viable. That is something that should be in every brew house if you want to maintain the ability of resisting these rising costs. Just things like that. Being more efficient with your brew process so you don't have to purchase as much grain. Just little things like that. Maybe you're using 50 less pounds of grain per a batch. because your efficiency went up. Well, that's one less bag of grain that you buy every single time you buy something. So you have to be constantly improving. And I think people in general, as consumers, are much more accepting of price increases when they see you're battling the same battle. We're trying to improve ourselves so that, if it was a direct cost pass through, yeah, you would see prices be $10 or $11 a pint. It's not that way because that's not reasonable. And we have to think of ways for us to save money as well. So, as long as I think we're continuously trying to improve that area, then I think people are a lot more accepting of some of the price increases that are inevitable, just because, if you want us to be around as a business, profit margins do have to maintain a certain level. So, we can't just be giving out stuff for free. And so I think in general, people will be accepting of it when they see the breweries trying equally as hard to not have to pass along as much cost.
Now, from the chat, somebody has a question for you, and it is regarding brewery etiquette. Tito in the chat wants to know, is it considered rude? This is your opinion, Kevin DeGrood.
Sure.
Is it considered rude to wear the merchandise of Brewery A to Brewery B for a few beers if you do not buy merchandise from Brewery B while you are there?
I I guess my personal opinion is no, I don't think it's bad or wrong. Sometimes when people are wearing merch, it's with the clothes they put on that day. It's not like they were like, oh, I'm specifically going to rep this brewery while I'm out at this brewery. I have brewers that wear their previous employer's gear while they're at work. I mean, it's just the clothes that you're putting on for the day. I personally don't have an issue with it. I don't mind it if people come in with, Ascension Brewing from Novi. Someone's got all their gear on and they come in. They're buying beer at our place, or maybe they're buying food. If they don't buy merch necessarily, I don't find that to be offensive.
It's a shame there wasn't some type of box where you could get a shirt monthly. Maybe we should bring that up as an idea for the future.
Yeah, no one I know has ever done anything like that. So,
R.I.P. MI Beer Box. Great hoodie, love it. Still so comfy. I think for me, when I'm wearing some type, first of all, I'm usually always in either a Better on Draft hoodie or shirt, or better Michigan Brewery Map App hoodie or shirt. So when I'm trying to rep my brand when I'm out there, but obviously I'm talking to the people that I know. John from Dearborn is saying, "Preach, Kevin." But for me, you can only wear so much clothing at the same time, that you can't just like swap a shirt every single time you go to a brewery or whatever. And you want to rep your brewery, especially if it's a home brewery. I'm sure you have people who go to your brewery all the time that wear your swag all the time and wear it out to other breweries. So I think it's definitely one, you got to have good swag if you want to have your customers promo it out there. You can't have some basic ass logo or basic ass shirt. Like it needs to pop.
yep.
I think that's important. But Larry in our chat is talking about chasing more so as a brewer, styles as opposed to brewing what you brew best or knowing what you brew best. And he believes, based on what I could see, it's a little bit of a wall of text, that the consumer doesn't necessarily want you to chase after those dollars. The consumer doesn't want you to make the hazy milkshake barrel-aged bullshit, as he puts it, or the $10 barrel-aged Madagascar vanilla-infused brown ale, although that sounds really good.
Yeah, well, I might make that now. That sounds delightful.
But how is it as a brewer, chasing fads? And let's kind of bring it back towards like the New England hazy fad, because that, when we first started our relationship as, consumer podcaster, podcast sponsor, New England IPAs did not really exist in the nature that it does now.
Right.
You guys don't chase that, though. I don't recall really seeing a New England IPA all the time on draft at your place. Is that incorrect?
No, that's pretty accurate. I mean, we probably carry it more regularly, obviously, in the warmer months. We are going to be releasing a session hazy, I think next week. But okay, so two parts. Um, the expectation from the masses that breweries can easily have 12 to 15 beers on tap at all times of all the styles ever made. It's just not possible. So the business model that's worked for us is having a handful of your flagships that you always have, and then all of the rest of your taps are associated with seasonal beers you want to try out, maybe a trend that you're following. So I think it's very possible to do both. If it all depends on your brew house. I'm speaking just of ours. So we have 4 flagships, and Larry, if you haven't been out to our place yet, I would hope that you're very happy with our flagships, because we have a Belgian triple, we have an ESB, we have our Shipwreck, which is a West Coast IPA, and then we also have a coffee porter. So none of those are a hazy milkshake, triple lactose, vanilla bean, which also is good. But I think you can focus on your flagships and then also have seasonals and trends that you're following as well. I think it's reasonable to try to do that, but for the expectation that a brewery do all of those things all of the time is what I think the consumer unfairly compares. When a lot of consumers see North Center Brewing, they see it in the same light as Founders. It was just a brewery. Where, I mean, that's obviously not a comparison. Founders has a limitless amount of resources of what I don't have. And so just make sure that, when you make statements like that, it's based on what you like. And always remember that if you like it, it's a good beer. I'm
Which
sorry, I had to. It was
no,
too late.
no, no. It's a great slogan. I want to call back because I obviously a lot of people remember my trip to Maine just a few months ago, where I made a comment about a brewery which their tap list was all IPAs and a lager. And when I say like all IPAs, I mean IPA, double IPA, triple IPA,
Yeah.
and then one. It might have been a Pils. Um, Nonetheless, when I go to a brewery, I don't necessarily expect um, a Dragon Mead worth of options. Or a Kunin worth of options. Because, I mean, if you go to either of those breweries, you're looking at 25 to 40 different styles of beer. Um, Whereas when I go to a brewery, I expect, on an 8 tap system, at least 2 or 3 beers that aren't in the IPA spectrum. And I don't know if it's necessarily fair because after going to Maine Beer Co., I ran into that 3 more times on my trip. Um, Going to breweries that did not have anything in the malt category, I would say. And when I say malt, I'm talking malt or even let's say spicy, like wheaty spicy. So wheat, wit, white, like nothing. And it just for me, is that an unfair assumption to want one of these at a brewery? Not all, one, brown, porter, stout, amber, red, alt. That's just my wish. Wheat. Um, yeah, I mean one of those 7 styles.
I don't.
ESB.
Yeah, I don't think it's unfair to expect stuff, but you just got to understand and take into context what happens when you're at a place like Maine Beer Co. They're big. There's been times I catch this on Untapped or comments on Untapped where there was someone that came in and said, "Wow, I've never seen so many IPAs on tap at our place." Which they caught us at the one time that I think we had 4 on tap, like the one time ever. We just had like a small batch, and like one of the batches was running out as a new one was getting brought forward. So like there was like this circumstance, and obviously when you go to a brewery and a lot of small breweries, um, they're a place that you're passing through, you're going on a trip or you're going around places. So just remembering context of what, a brewery might not, what they have today, might not have tomorrow. And so I think that has a lot to do with it too. Like you might just catch someone at the wrong time for what you're looking for. And so that's why I always say, if you go to a place, if you're ever out in a place, in an area again, give that place another look if you didn't like what they had the first time, or at least check out their menus and stuff like that to see if anything's changed. But it is a day-to-day changeover. I mean, we are probably rotating out of our 12 taps. We probably have 3 new beers a week, I'd say, on average. So, I mean, when 25% of your tap is rotating on a weekly basis, that's obviously a big change. So, just making sure that you check places out before you head out. And I know, even saying that, a lot of places do not keep up with doing that, but a nice tool like the Michigan Brewery Map App can definitely come in handy when doing stuff like this and checking places out, giving them a call. Sometimes it's hard for us to remember to update our website on a daily basis because it's not like we don't have an IT department. I am the IT department, and I'm the HR guy, and I'm the guy that has to do payroll. So just remember that, take it into context. I know no one likes to talk on the phone anymore, but a phone call is okay. Like we'll answer questions.
From the chat, John over at Dearborn says, preach. Larry appreciates your response and says a decent spread of Flagships. And Cal says IPA all the way. I think my biggest issue, which is fair, and I have accepted my own fault of posting it on social media, that I was not too keen on the situation I was put in, but you kind of live and learn, and again, because of that incident, what I learned is a love for lagers that I didn't know I had, because that was really the only option is either IPA or lager, and I wasn't going with IPA because it's not a disdain. It is a disdain for IPAs, but for the most part, it's just a style I don't like, which is fair, because again, if I like it, it's a good beer, and if you like it, it's a good beer. We are going to be wrapping up here shortly. I appreciate you joining us. For those of you who are maybe listening for the first time, Nick obviously has a newborn, so I'm sure he's probably being a little fussy right now, which is why I just ended up being me and Kevin here at the end. But Kevin, I'm sure we're going to probably do this again December of next year. What do you want to happen within the next year? Like, what is your goal for North Center Brewing and Kevin DeGrood for 2022?
Yeah, 2022 is important as we get rebuild from what happened in 2020. For us, it's positioning ourselves to get back into the expansion discussion that we had initiated in 2019, and we're in the process of doing right as COVID hit and had to kind of put on pause. So that's my main goal in 2022 is to restart that discussion and figure out where the heck we might do that at. But yeah, that's definitely our first and foremost goal is to. I mean, if anyone comes in the brewery, we're small. They see we're busting at the seams at all times. So that's my main goal as owner, is to figure out what the next move is, because we were inches away from it happening before, and I'd like to revisit the conversation now that we're healthy again.
Sounds awesome. North Center Brewing, you can find them in Northville, Michigan, just south of Baseline Road. As I tell you before every single episode of Better on Draft, we appreciate you listening. We will be back next week. We have one more episode before we take a 2-week break, and then we will be back for Dry January. Give me your little thumbs down for that, Dry January. Folks, Michigan Series number 19 in the books. You can find all of these Michigan breweries by simply downloading the Michigan Brewery Map App. That's mibeermap.com. It's free for you to use, as Kevin said. You can find all the social medias. The social medias, the Untaps, the phone numbers, the address for all of these breweries, the days that they're open and the hours that they're open. Folks, this is a free map app for you to use. It's free for everyone to use. It's free for every brewery to be on. And we just added beer festivals. So if you want to join us at maybe the upcoming Grand Rapids Beer Festival, or maybe the beer festival that's going to be at the Michigan Science Center that I found out about in March of 2022, join us, say hi. We appreciate you listening. And no matter what you think of your beer, we think it's better on draft. Have a good night.